This is the Media Police Post, broadcasting from the Fort Hall School of Government. In this show, we police the state of truth in the Republic. And because truth is communicated to us by journalists and analysts, we have made it our civic duty, the Fort Hall School of Government, to put it to the test. We advance from two confirmed truths about the media. One, and according to Roger Stone, the media is either lazy or evil. And for the most part, it is both evil and lazy. That is why the truth, their truth, must be put to a test. Two, journalism is verified gossip. In fact, what is presented to us as news analysis is gossip that has been verified by journalists. This gossip has to be ground truthed. We will assess the state of truth in what they submit to the Republic, and we will pass a verdict on what is true and what is not. For the record, we are not journalists. We are thinkers. We are not lazy or evil, and we do not verify gossip. What we give you is the truth that sets you free. On today's show, we will discuss ideas that reflect unformed and uninformed opinions, and ideas that made you stupid. Narratives that fell into the cognitive trap of we see things as we are, not as they are. Narratives based on conjecture, history, and those that smack of envelope journalism. Welcome, guys. What are we discussing today?
Today, I'd like to talk about an unformed opinion that's masquerading on the Standard. So today on the Standard, ODM has issued a resounding no to calls to extend the president's term. In fact, the phrase they used today is not a day more. It reminded me of one of my favorite columns that was written a year ago and published in The Star, and it was titled, Why Uhuru Needs a Third Term in Office by a gentleman called Sam Omwenga. And in that article, Mr. Omwenga gave a disclaimer. He said that he is a progressive who has always championed for term limits for presidents in Africa. But after much thought, he was convinced that the third term for President Uhuru Kenyatta was not a bad idea. And these were his reasons. According to him, the handshake shook the foundation of our political landscape such that things have not been the same and will never be the same, but that is for the better of our country. And in his words, we were on full speed towards implementing BBI, only to have COVID-19 and recently our courts stop this progress. So it was Mr. Mwenga's proposal that while Uhuru roped Raila into the system and is angling for more inclusivity under BBI, it is prudent to state that it was prudent that the system was not quite ready to give up power to Raila, and it was certainly not ready to give it up to Ruto. Power should only be handed over gradually. And the best path there was to have Uhuru serve one more term, and this is where we differed. He said as a transitional president, I feel as a full president, while Raila was on his wing as a prime minister. I think that's a good idea. What do you think? But on a side note, I have to say that I'd like to remind you that the first term of the president was cut short by the courts again. 2012 ruling of the High Court on the date of the first election under the 2010 Constitution. And they said that the first election under the 2010 Constitution was to be held in March 2013. According to that 2012 ruling, the conduct of the election was to be 5 years from that date, that is, i.e. August 2018. However, the election was held in August 2017, 4 years from the date of the first election. This cut the term of the president short by 1 year.
That's right.
So the unfairness of the judiciary notwithstanding, it is interesting to note that the proposal to extend the president's term is still front page worthy 1 year later. And perhaps it is an idea whose time has come.
Yes.
And as Victor Hugo said, nothing in the world, not even armies, is so powerful as an idea whose time has come.
Yes, indeed. Thank you for opening that Pandora's box, which we should actually open in the courts. Now, I would like to take us back to the trump card that former Chief Justice Maraga handed the president just before leaving office. That is the directive to dissolve Parliament on account of its failure to pass the 2/3 gender rule as per Article 261. Now, despite today's headline of the Standard, not a day more, says ODM on Uhuru term, the dissolution of Parliament and the inadvertent extension of President Uhuru's term remains a probable outcome as we head towards the 2022 election. So, let me explain how Uhuru and Raila will precipitate a constitutional crisis to their advantage. Follow this as meticulously as you can. It's a bit heavy, but I invite you to do so. Article 102.1 of the Constitution states, the term of each House of Parliament expires on the date of the next general election. So, on the second Tuesday in August next year, Parliament's regularly scheduled term will expire. This article should be read in conjunction with Article 136(2)(a) on the election of the President. And this article states that an election of the President shall be held on the same day as a general election of members of Parliament, being the second Tuesday in August in every 5th year. Now, in simpler words, what these two articles are telling us is that these two elections of MPs and of the President are married to each other. They cannot be delinked. They cannot be divorced. Here is my hypothesis then. The President, with the concurrence of Raila Odinga, will dissolve Parliament at an opportune time, perhaps July of this year, next month. Once that happens, the 12th Parliament of Kenya will now be split into 12A and 12B. Parliament 12A will be sent home and 12B will be inaugurated. This Parliament 12B will not end its second term on the second Tuesday in August in 2022, being the regularly scheduled term. It will end its term on the second Tuesday in August on the 5th year from the date on which it was inaugurated. So, supposing they are inaugurated in August 2021, Parliament 12B will end its term in August 2026. And that is the reading of Article 101 of the Constitution. That same logic will be used to justify the extension of the term of the President. Uhuru Kenyatta will begin term 2B in office. Term 2A will come to an end and term 2B will begin. And that is because the Constitution says that an election of the President shall be held on the same day as a general election of members of Parliament, being the second Tuesday in August in every 5th year. And the thing here in contention is, what is in every 5th year? What is in every 5th year? You know, that is really, what is the start date? What is the end date of this every 5th year? So his term 2B will end not in August 2022, but in August 2026. But I know you're asking a lot of questions right now. What does Raila stand to gain from this scheme? It is simple. Uhuru and Raila will impeach Ruto once they inaugurate Parliament 12B. After that, Uhuru will make Raila deputy president. Shortly thereafter, Uhuru will resign from office somewhere around August 2022 and hand over the presidency to Raila Amolo Odinga, Baba Man, who will then go ahead to appoint a Kikuyu as deputy president, or Kalonzo Musyoka, or whatever, and life will move on.
Two things to say. One, and I agree with you completely, the president does not have a term of office. You can imply that it's 10 years, but our constitution allows for him to go through a lengthy electoral period.
Precisely.
So that one is there. Number two, I have never seen a better play of politics, and that the law is truly an ass as that.
Yes.
I have two comments. Number one is that it will not be Uhuru seeking to extend his term. This all started with Maraga. That's where JM started. So let's be
Very clear
that.
on which arm of government led us to this particular conundrum.
Exactly.
That's right.
Secondly, that deputy president to Raila will be a lady by the name of Martha Karua. That's my opinion. So,
You nailed it. You nailed it. Oh my goodness. And you know, once you have elite consensus amongst the political elite, you know, Wilfredo Pareto said history is and always will be a graveyard of aristocracies, of the elite. If you have elite consensus, the Wananchi don't matter. They will be led to whatever Baba Man wants, whatever Uhuru wants, whatever Kalonzo wants, and so on and so forth.
Speaking of elite consensus, there was a very powerful photo that came out of Naivasha this weekend of Uhuru standing with Raila, standing with Kalonzo.
Can we put that picture up?
Yeah, and I'd like to talk a little bit about that weekend.
Yes.
After the excitement and acceleration of the Safari Rally coming back to Kenya after 19 years, and the show that was put on this weekend, it was truly a magnificent show. We have also taken a moment to reflect on what it means for the economy and what it also says about the president's diplomacy and the success of our foreign policy. And speaking of the president, what we saw this weekend was the fulfillment of a pledge he made in 2013 during his first time in office.
Uhuru is a keeper of promises.
Exactly. It also speaks volumes about our capacity and ability to host mega international events.
Yeah.
The Safari Rally is yet another feather on that cap, and it did wonders to sell Kenya to the world. Over 850 million people across the globe lent us their eyes. That is a gold mine in terms of advertising and marketing the country as a top tourist destination. So we can be sure it will be responsible for a lot of foreign dollars streaming in future.
That's right.
But even as that money marinates, the economy has already reaped huge returns, and especially Nairobi and Naivasha and its environs. It is estimated that about 10,000 people attended the event, which is a huge boost to the hospitality sector, especially considering how it was hard hit last year with COVID. Some people had been skeptical about whether the government should have invested as much money as it did into hosting the rally, but it is quite apparent that the massive return on investment was vindicated by how much was pumped into it. Initial reports indicate that we stand to gain 6 billion shillings at least. Add to that the fact that the government has also secured the hosting rights for Safari Rally for an additional 5 years. That is every year until 2026. Even if we do some simple math, we will gain at least 30 billion, and that is on the lower side because we haven't even factored in the multiplier effect. All said and done, the president promised, the president delivered.
Indeed. Absolutely.
Thank you for joining us on the Media Police Post. See you next Monday.